Guys, don't mind my kids in the background. They're being so loud. So just real quick, I have a couple things I want to say about what's going on with Diablo right now. Number one, I think if you haven't played an ARPG, the seasonal reset is mind-boggling to you, but it's a normal thing that happens on ARPGs. Number two, I really, really, really want to say this out loud, and I think that a lot of people need to hear it. I think the problem with Diablo is that the casual players that have been invited now, because we have a huge player base now, those casual players are now seeing what we normally see on the day-to-day basis. So, like, this whole power curve and that stopping, that part of it is like, if you're not a casual player and you're an elitist, I like to call us elitists, if you play more than 4 or 5 hours a day and put time into the game, you hit that wall and it becomes discipline at that point, and it doesn't become a grind anymore, because a lot of us aren't really playing the game for fun. It just becomes a thing that we enjoy playing the game, but like, it just becomes a part of our day-to-day life. Like going to the gym, you could say. Like, we're just keeping up and just playing because genuinely, I like the game. But on top of it, it's just discipline. And so I think what needs to be done with Diablo is, I think that there needs to be strategically in-depth dungeons rather than that push of mindless killing. Strategically meaning, like, close to WoW, but I was listening to Asmongold, and he was talking about how it's not meant for the 8-hour player. It's meant for the 2-hour, I got on, need to do something real quick. So base your strategy on dungeon delving that way, in the manner of, like, how can you make a dungeon, like a cellar, a little 2-second dungeon, how can you make that a strategic thing? Well, add a healer class. Add a class in the game or something that makes it a team opportunity. And I know that the game is meant for the single player, more or less, so you could solo a lot of stuff. You can make strategy around solo, but I think there needs to be that aspect of the multiplayer strategy. And I think if you added dungeons that had strategically placed mechanisms, for instance, I said timers. So, like, if you're going through a dungeon, a timer hits, kill 60 enemies in 3 minutes, or the whole dungeon resets. So it gives you that type of stress, because I think that's a big thing that we have to focus on in this community as well, is that these games need to incite stress in a manner that makes us want to complete it. Not like, oh, I hate this game, I don't want to play it anymore. But, like, for instance, Elden Ring. Elden Ring did a fantastic job at making the player feel stressed, but it was rewarding when you completed it. And that's the thing. The risk for reward and the stress that comes with that risk for reward needs to be enormous. And I guess on a Diablo level, it needs to be even bigger. So, like, they did a great job with WoW and the strategicness of it, especially in vanilla, where, like, you needed the team and you needed the concept of synergy and you needed these things that made it feel like there was a reward. That's another thing. I think certain dungeons or bosses should drop specific items that make the grind fun and rewarding. And I think that we're kind of pulling away from that. And I know Diablo is a complete RNG nightmare, which is okay. And they kind of got away from it with the dungeons where you can it's not RNG on aspects, but the weapons are RNG, the gear, the loot is RNG. I think there should be a little less loot RNG and a little more. There's a two-handed sword called the Grandfather. Well, I wish that there was a boss in the game that spawned, and there was a strategic a strategic avenue that was needed to be taken. Like, you can't just do it with a barbarian. You need a barbarian that has Warcry, or do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what I think Diablo kind of misses on. They miss on that little pocket of strategy. It's more of like this mindless killing that you're pretty much just stressing over your health potions or how long you can keep your health up or how you can build into mitigation or defenses that keep your offense going. So it's a constant killing spree, which is cool. That's the ARPG thing. But I think if you added a strategy and a little bit more defense to the ARPG thing, it would make the game an insanely rewarding game and also an insane amount of fun. And that's what I have to say about that.